Hello and welcome to another special edition of the Formula E Zone show, or the FEZ show, as my friend Jack Giormano loves to call it. I'm here with two special guests who have just won the Formula E Talent Call for Filmmakers, and they are Martha Douhne and Gail Bertram. Say hello, Martha and Abby.
Hey, thanks for having us on this show. We're really excited.
Yes, thank you so much.
No worries. It's a pleasure to have you both on, and I'm sure we're very excited to talk Formula E and, of course, filmmaking. So let's start off. The first question I've got in here is, how did you each get into filmmaking? And also, how do you get into motorsport? Obviously, the filmmaker being the thing you've just won, I think we should start with that side of things first. So, Abby, how did you get into filmmaking?
So I'm actually new to the scene.
You've done very well for a newbie.
Oh, thank you. I started working with a marketing agency back where I'm from, and they kind of do videography for events and brands, stuff like that. And I kind of just got interested in doing it. And then me and Martha were kind of like, let's do some more stuff together. So we started working together, and I've just gotten more intrigued into filmmaking. And then motorsports, Martha actually got me into it. She's a huge F1 fan. I'll let her tell you more about that. But and then she found this Formula E competition, and ever since, we've been involved with this. Motorsports has just been really great.
Yeah, so I got into filmmaking. It kind of runs in my family, like photography and filmmaking. And so I obviously went to school for it, and that's where I met Abby. And we worked on some projects here and there. We did a lot of like events and, like commercial work together. And then, yeah, I got into motorsports. It's probably been a year. So I'm pretty new to motorsports, but I've always loved cars and electric cars and everything like that. And so Formula E, it was kind of just like the perfect mix between it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say from my experience that a lot of us at Formula E Zone were F1 fans or fans of other motorsport series because Formula E didn't exist when we started watching, I think. But of course, it's not the case. And it's very interesting you got in so recently, because that's often what we hear. And it's always great to get fresh perspectives on it, because as we've been there since the beginning, we're really, really well, I'm particularly overprotective of it. It's maybe not the case with the others. I'm kind of projecting there. But it is very good to get new blood in and hear what they think. So I want to go into a little bit more detail. So how did you both meet at school, at university, and what kind of projects were you working on before the talent call came around? Martha, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, so we had a mutual friend at college. Her name's Jasmine, and she worked on the magazine team there. And she needed a video done for the magazine and kind of recruited both me and Abby together separately. Abby was actually acting in the film, and I was helping record it. And so, yeah, it was through her really. And yeah, and we kind of worked on projects. So we worked like for different gyms, and it basically stuck with sport type stuff. So we didn't really do much else but sport. And yeah, so obviously we enjoy it.
Abby, I heard from, I won't say who told me this, but somebody told me that you are the star basketball player at your university, but you're very humble about it. You don't like talking about it.
You see, I wish you would have emailed me instead of Martha, because I knew she was going to tell you that.
Hey, I won't reveal my sources.
Yeah, I mean, I played in college. That's all I'm going to say.
Now we know from Martha that you also acted in this film as well.
There were no lines. It was just my face and just acting body wise.
Okay. Well, well, that's interesting how beginnings then, and certainly both of you had a huge interest in sports, and you both got on well, which I guess is the main thing. So I want to go on to more now about Formula E. When and maybe how, as well as part of this, did you become fans of Formula E, and what was the main appeal of the role of this, the filmmaker role at Talent Call, that convinced you to enter in the first place? What was it that pushed you towards that?
So we found the talent call back in June. It was actually a few days before the talent call ended. But we had been following Formula E for a while, ever about the same time since we started following Formula One. And so when we saw the talent call, we had, I think, 3 days to enter or less. And it just kind of clicked. Like we both felt like this was the thing to do. And we were just really impressed with Formula E's like mission and the fact that they do all these sustainability projects and like do all these projects within each country that they go to. So yeah, I think that's kind of like the main appeal about the role and the talent call is that it kind of mixed both of our passions together at the same time.
Do you agree with that, Abby? I assume you do. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one then. The next question I have is, I'm assuming that because based on your entry and what I know about you guys making it, a very limited knowledge that I have obviously, is that you both did sort of both sides of the process in terms of production, obviously shooting the film, and then obviously the post-production, all the editing and the visual or the effects and color grading and stuff like that. So for each of you, I want to know, do you prefer production or post-production and why? So Abby, let's start with you.
I'm gonna say production. I like shooting. I like, being where people are and wherever we're shooting. I like to shoot. I like to edit. I can also edit, but I don't know. There's just something about getting to shoot, especially at Formula E. That was such a cool experience to be like in the pit lanes, in the garage with the team, just like kind of learning their energy, before a race. So definitely production for me.
Yeah, jumping off of Abby's answer, I definitely agree with her saying production was like her favorite part because while we were in London, I was super nervous filming, although I love it and it's also one of my favorite things to do. But Abby was over there like in people's faces recording and like getting like every single great part that was needed while I was like trying to figure out why everything was so crazy and like loud, so we definitely have a good team partnership together because whenever we're editing, I think that's where a lot of my creative talent comes out. But yeah, I don't know if I could pick like our favorite or my favorite, but if I had to, it's probably post-production.
Oh, I'm certainly more with Martha on that as someone who did video editing at university, a big whole 3-year course on video editing at uni. That's definitely my kind of jam. But there is also, I have to say, for Abby, there's some great camera work in the final film that you made in the Ventura garage in the sort of 24-hour build-up, because obviously they had shakedown the day before and then the race day on Saturday, I think, and then another race on Sunday, of course, in London. And interesting. I do want to talk a bit more about it, but I think I'm going to put the link to the video in the description, so people watching this video later on can see it for themselves and appreciate your work, because I think it was, well, obviously it won the competition, but I think even on its own, it's a good little piece that gives you some insight. So the next question I want to ask is about friends and family, and how did they all react to both of you getting to that final? Because obviously you would have known before we knew, the public, because I know from my experience in the previous tackle that you get an email about a month before and then you're told to keep it secret. So obviously there's this short period where only you and your immediate friends and family know about it. So what was that like? It must have been really exciting for both of you.
Yeah, it was super exciting. I think the hardest part was, telling our families, like, because they were so excited. They wanted to post to social and tell the other family members and tell their friends. And we were like, no, you can't tell anybody yet. Like, we have to wait. But they were definitely excited. So both of our families were definitely excited.
Yeah, I agree. I think we didn't even think we got it for the longest time. Because we saw in the competition that we would be going to New York City, like to film the finale, and New York City came that weekend, and we're like, oh, guess we didn't get it. And so we kind of just kept it low key for the most part. And like Abby said, as soon as we were able to make it public, we posted the public notice like while we're at the airport. Like we're literally sitting in our seats at the gate, and that's when it went public. So it was a really cool experience being able to talk to our friends and family about it and see how like they definitely motivated us a lot, gave us a ton of tips and stuff as we traveled. So yeah, it was a good experience.
Absolutely. And I think I remember that too, the New York thing, that there was sort of a COVID issue, so they couldn't have fans on site, whereas London, there was a limited amount of fans. And so Jack Gilmana from Formula E Zone got to go. I didn't get to go because I'm not a specialist. I was at home editing his things for him. But the good news was we were able to get a lot of stuff up really quickly. So including like an interview with Degrassi, which was a big deal because that was when he went in the pit lane and came out in the lead of the race, which was this big controversial moment. And Jack interviewed him immediately after that, which was a great little scoop, as they say in journalism. But you guys had some good fun as well. So that's absolutely great to hear. So I want to talk about the actual experience with Venturi, of course. Susie Wolf, Eduardo Mortara, Norman Nato. Sad Norman's not keeping his seat. Big fan of Norman, but still brilliant team. Must have been an amazing experience. What was your plan going in? How do you go about shooting and editing it? And just overall, how do you reflect on that experience with Venturi? Because from everything I've heard, at least, it's a very welcoming team.
Yeah, I agree. They're super welcoming. And the time that we first met them, so we got an overview of the track and, you know, walked around, had a safety meeting. But the time that we came into them, we got to meet a few of the team members. But then probably within 5 or 10 minutes, it was time for shakedown. And so that was when we had to film. And so we got a short introduction, and then we were kind of thrown into it, kind of like a pool or like someone learning to swim, you know? And that was our first time even at a race. And so they were super welcoming. Susie was incredible. She gave us some great advice and talked to us for a while. And then the drivers, they had some really good questions. And it was kind of cool to get to interview them, especially so close to a race, and kind of see. And we were also like welcome to stand around, film whatever we needed to during the pre-race. And so we really felt like the vibe of the team and stuff. And yeah, I mean, Abby can probably talk a little bit more about, you know, how welcoming they were.
It was so exciting to just, like Martha said, I don't think we fully expected as much energy in the garage as we did, because I mean, it happened all so quickly, and your adrenaline's just rushing, and you're trying to get the good shots, and it was a great experience all around.
I wanted to just ask you guys, what were your reactions afterwards when you found out that you both had won the whole thing overall, and in what ways has it changed your lives? So obviously, you know, it's very early days yet. You haven't gone to the prize yet. We'll talk about it in a minute. But how do you go? You guys must be on a high right now.
Yeah, definitely on
sure.
a high. I think it definitely confirms this whole competition. It definitely confirms like our passions and our hard work that we've put into it. And it shows that like we can do it. You know, us as girls in a male-dominated, first of all, it's a male-dominated industry, but also a male-dominated part of the industry, like media. So it's just pretty, like, it's crazy to think about right now, but still hard to put words together for how it feels.
Yeah, it all happened very fast. Like Martha said, she found the competition like 2 days before we had to like turn the video in. So it was like, you know, we turned the video in. A couple weeks later, we found out we won, and we were supposed to go to New York, but we went to London instead. And then, you know, it was just all kind of a crazy experience, but it worked out in the end.
It certainly did. And of course, you got to shoot the film, and you did a great interview with Susie Wolf, who of course is a big champion of women in motorsport. And now I guess effectively by advising you, she's effectively championed women in filmmaking of motorsport. So one of the aims of the talent call when it was originally set up last year, but also this year, was to improve diversity in the sport, open up opportunities for people from underrepresented groups. And I talked to Darren Adetosoy, who won the presenter talent call last year. Lovely young lady. And she's become the first ever Black female presenter for an international motorsports rights holder. Trying to make sure I remember that exactly so I don't get it wrong. And that was a really big deal for her. She was, even when I interviewed her, she said it still hadn't really sunk in. So maybe it's sunk in a bit more now. I haven't had a chance to talk to her since on the show, but it was a great interview we did with her. And I think it's also very uncommon to see female talent behind the cameras as well as, you know, in front of it at motorsport events. So how do you both view your roles in improving representation for women in motorsport, because obviously, you're not in front of the camera, but you're still a big example for, like, let's say, young women who may potentially be watching this or have an interest in Formula E and motorsport in general. They can see you two doing so well, despite and the fact you got into it so recently, they might think, well, I can get in too.
I think we definitely got in non-traditionally, but I think we have to take our roles super serious and understand that, like, there's a ton of people behind us that are also looking to get into the media side of things, and we have to figure out ourselves, like me and Abby, how can we help them? How can we support them while also supporting ourselves to get further into the roles as well? But yeah, I think, like, some of the best people I know in the creative field are women, and so I want to continue to see that in motorsports. I probably can't name one photographer or videographer in any type of motorsports that I know of. So it's definitely a heavy weight on us, and I mean, I look forward to figuring out how we can really help others and help ourselves in that.
Yeah, I agree. I think always being willing, to learn and grow within, filmmaking. It's something new every day, it's not something that stays consistent. So I think just being willing to learn and grow and share with others and help others is a big key in that.
And to add on to Abby, learning from others, and especially people who are even younger than us, I think they have so much talent, and they know what the new trends are, what the new styles are. We're somewhat considered old for young people, and so we're also going to be looking towards the younger people to help us. Yeah.
I actually agree completely on that last point, Martha, because I do a lot of work with Cub Scouts, my local sort of Cub Scout group, and I find myself picking up things, little things from them that I wouldn't have known about otherwise. And they sort of, well, I mean, obviously I'm in charge of them, so there's only so much that they don't become in charge of me. But you know what I mean? There's sort of always, like I said at the beginning, it's sort of getting an outsider perspective for people who coming into it fresh don't necessarily have the same blinkers that you do necessarily. And I also want to say that one thing that I was disappointed actually a little bit about the first Talent Call was that it was very European centric. It was UK, France, and Germany, and now opening up to the United States allowed you two to enter and win, which I think is brilliant, because we have two American teams in Formula E, Andretti and Dragon. Why can't we have more American videographers behind the scenes? And I think it's great that they opened that up. So it's not just a great for women in motorsport, but great for Americans in motorsport as well. So, So my next question was about Formula E's initiatives as a whole. So obviously there's Positively Charged is the big one for the talent calls associated with. There's also Change Accelerated, which we've also heard about. What do these campaigns mean to you two personally, and what kind of impact do you think they're going to have away from the racetrack?
I think, it really just, it means they're trying to, initiate change within Formula E, but they're also encouraging their fans, to stay positively charged. And I forget the other hashtag now that I'm talking, but I think they're all about just encouraging people, trying to get the word out for electric, because it's not very well known, especially in the US. It's like up and coming in the US. It's more well known in the UK, but I think they're just trying to put the word out to everybody.
Yeah, I think especially with all the news around the environment and everything that's going on, it's super negative. And so to have Positively Charged and things that are being accelerated, it shows that things are positive. Like, there's a positive outlook that we all need to look into. And then it's just incredible that they're using the racing format to accelerate. It's like Abby said, the US electric car industry is almost non-existent, compared to what we see in Europe. And so it's just incredible to see that. And then I think they're also debunking a lot of myths that people think about electric cars and electricity in general. So yeah, it's great initiatives.
Yeah, when I talked to Darren, by the way, she gave a very similar answer to what Abby said. Mm-hmm. So I think that means you guys, either you've all both been given the same brief, or you both are on the right track. Absolutely. We should talk a bit about the prize. Obviously, Formula are very hush-hush about it. It's a very exciting, unique opportunity, they've said. they haven't said exactly what it is. So what are you looking forward to about this filmmaking project? You'll obviously be working together at the season 8 opener, which is in Saudi Arabia next February. Are you also hoping to be at a lot more of the races later in the season if things go well, or do you not know yet?
I think it's definitely going to be hard to compete with our experience at London, because we feel like we got such a great and full experience there filming with the team and all the access we got there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to every single part of it. And now we know just a little bit more into how things are. And so I think we can use that knowledge from the London race to help us better create the content and create the filmmaking project, which we don't know anything about yet. So, but yeah, and hopefully we could be at more races if that's as a fan or working there. Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately that's the goal, is, you know, to go to as many races as we can. You know, we're fans now. But I think one thing we're both looking forward to is, you know, we didn't get to necessarily work with the Formula E media team in London because we were, you know, just shooting ourselves. And I think that's part of what we get to do in Saudi Arabia. So we'll get to meet the team and work with them and, you know, learn from them. That's ultimately the goal, is to learn.
Absolutely, that's great to hear, but and also that you guys don't know exactly, so you're just as in the dark as I am and the rest of us are. But I can't wait to see what you end up making. I hope it's interesting and as insightful as the Venturi film was, or possibly more insightful, let's hope. But all the media team at Formula E does a brilliant job, so I'm sure you guys will fit right in. So final question I have here is, you've obviously talked earlier about some of the other sports clients and gyms you guys have worked with for other projects. How does Formula E compare? Is it the biggest job you guys have got, and is it your dream job? Is it finally a dream achieved for both of you?
Yeah, definitely a dream. So I don't think we've ever worked with anyone else who has had so much pressure on one person. And I know that the driver is half of the team, and then you got the rest of the team that they have just as much pressure on them as well. But you definitely see the divide between that. Because you see how important it is for the driver to be in his right mind and focused right before the race, but the team has such a big part before and after. And I don't know any other sport that we've worked on that has that. So I think that's what makes it unique. And going into our video with Venturi, like, we definitely try to capture the stress and the craziness right before the race, but also we know they're normal people just like all the other sport projects we've done, and so we tried to capture that as well. And so in some ways it's similar because they both have that, but no one is as pressured as a racing team. So yeah.
No, yeah, Martha said most of it, but it's so not overwhelming, but you walk in to, well, especially in London, you know, half part of it was indoor and part of it was outdoor. So you walk into this massive convention center, and I don't think you're quite aware of just how big an event like this is. And it's exciting, and you just want to learn more.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Abby, actually, because I was one of the people who used to go to Excel, actually, because I went to university not far from there, and I used to go there for other events, and I was one of the ones pushing to campaign to move the Formula E race there because I thought it would be an absolutely brilliant place for it, and I was so glad to see it happen. So I'm glad you guys got to go. I'm hoping to go next year. Didn't get to go this year, but I'm sure it'll be worth the wait. And so yeah, I'm really glad to hear that it's such a big deal for both of you, and it's great to see you guys really excited for whatever the future holds for you in Saudi Arabia. But I want to say thanks so much for your time, and do take care. And thanks to you, of course, at Formula Zone for watching. And we'll see you again soon for more videos of me, Jack, and the rest of the crew rambling like we always do, but hopefully more special interviews like this too. So cheers, bye for now. And I'm going to
thank you.